Welcome to Drum Corps Central, a podcast. I am a 13-year-old drum corps superfan who loves all forms of the marching arts. Thanks for watching the podcast today. There will be an almost daily episode of this podcast recapping the previous night's drum corps scores and looking ahead. Today is Sunday, July 29th, 2018. Last night, our second all-corps regional of the season in Atlanta. I'll get to that, plus a DCA show last night, a pretty big show, a lot of heavy contenders in terms of DCA open class, so I'll get to that. Tonight, 3 shows, basically the closest you get to an open class regional tonight. One of the closest that you get to that is tonight in Oskaloosa, Iowa. I'll get to that. 2 other shows tonight. One also is Winston-Salem, where some of those top world-class corps will go tonight and route for their way up the East Coast as they make their way to Allentown and then over to Indy. All that plus more today on Drum Corps Central, a podcast. So I'm going to start today's podcast with last night's Atlanta, Georgia DCI Southeastern Championship scores. Only one, well, there were 2 all-age class scores there, but only one was judged. Carolina Gold with a 68.75. A reminder, they're not judged on the same sheets that the DCI cores are judged on, so you might look at that and go, they're better than the Seattle Cascades. They didn't seem that way. They probably aren't. So they're just kind of judged on like a DCA kind of sheet. I'm not really that knowledgeable in terms of the DCA scoring system, so who knows how that is, but Carolina Gold 68.75, only all-age class score scored here. I guess this could kind of explain some of that confusion with the DCA scoring system. Yeah, so I'll show you the DCA recap from last night. The effect thing's kind of the same. The effect communication things is kind of the same. It's kind of just complicated though. Where DCI, it's just like general effect, visual, and music. This is like effect communication and effect. It's just really confusing. So now to world class in Atlanta. First place Santa Clara Vanguard 93.675, Blue Devils 93.25 in second. Definitely 4/10. I think that's where they are. I think that's where the Blue Devils are compared to Vanguard right now. I would not rule the Blue Devils out of winning. I think they have 3, 4, 5 matchups left with Vanguard this season. If you include championships, just off the top of my head right now, I can't think of any times. They actually meet tonight. So you think Winston-Salem tonight, Allentown on Friday. They might both be in Buffalo. I think the Blue Devils are. I'm not sure about Vanguard. And then the 3 times in championships. So I don't think the Blue Devils are done. I don't know if they have a championship show right now. I think they have a show deserving of winning over Vanguard. I mean, you literally put this show out any year in the past and it wins. But Vanguard's kind of put a stop to that this year. I mean, I disrespect to anybody, but it's kind of like funny because every year the Blue Devils are so good, and now Vanguard's kind of like, take this, we're going to go out and we're going to show you this show with all these visual and musical risks and all that stuff. Just very, very intense show for Vanguard. And really, you could say the same go down the fifth about the Boston Crusaders. That show is one of the most intense shows this year, if not in the past few. So, I mean, really think about it. Vanguard, Blue Devils, Bluecoats have separated themselves from 4th, 5th, 6th, where at one point this season, I literally thought that the Bluecoats had a legitimate shot at falling to 4th or 5th, and that the wheels were just going to fall off of them, and they were just going down. Doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen now, but at one point this season, I found that a legitimate factor and something that could happen, and and really the core that I thought would get up there, I never really thought Crown would get up there, and I didn't think the Cavaliers would. I thought it might be Boston but doesn't seem to be, being point and a half away from Crown. Can't make up all that ground. The Bluecoats have done a great job changing that show, because at the beginning of the season, I mean, they ran with that closer. I think I said this in one of the previous episodes of this podcast, that some course they keep their closer basically the whole season, like we saw last year with Crown, or the Bluecoats really had it for half of the tour this year. Or you have course that change their closer in the first week, which is what Crown did this year. How that relates to this is what I said about the Bluecoats, is that they didn't really do anything to this show. They made it perfect in early season through those East Coast shows and everything. They made that show perfect. And they couldn't do anything to it. They could do things to it. They weren't doing anything to it. At least coming out every night to the show, they might have been doing something in rehearsal, but they just kept having the same show over and over, and they went up to like an 80 before they did anything. And then they kept going up, they got to like an 85, and then they finally debuted everything in Katy. And in Katy, they just let everything fly out there, and I think that they really did a good job at saving the show, because yes, you can do a really good show many times and you do well, but at one point in the season, which is about halfway, like Katy, San Antonio this past week, that is where you have to make changes to your show, and that's exactly what the Bluecoats did. And really, they've benefited from that, because the judges aren't, I guess you could use the word, sick of them using or doing the same show and the judges having to see the same show for the Bluecoats. They made that show perfect, as I said, but these changes are making it so good on the judging sheets. I don't know if it's making it better fan-wise. I haven't really determined that yet, but I think that they have definitely made the right changes to the show. Go down 4, 5, 6, Crown 91, 5, 2, 5. They're definitely, I like, really that first half of the show is really good, intense. Second half, it just kind of falls apart. I think if they just make a few changes to the second half of that show, like Ballad On, Crown could be the bronze medalists come Indy. I think that's a legitimate possibility. The Boston Crusaders, they're on 5th, 89.975. Cavaliers, 6th, 89.925. Very close. Half a tenth, I think that is. Yeah, half a tenth. So, very close. I'm sure those two will go back and forth for the rest of the season. After spending so much time talking about those top 6, what about the rest of the 18 corps in world class? So, 7th Cadets, 87.488. Again, right where they should be. They're actually better than last year's score at this show, I believe. Blue Stars, 8th, 86.25. Blue Knights, 9th, 85.925. That's one of the jumps. One of the jumps was Boston over the Cavaliers. Second jump is Blue Stars over the Blue Knights. I honestly thought Blue Knights would jump Cadets before Blue Stars jumped Blue Knights, but that's what has happened. The Blue Stars have jumped them. I'm sure they'll go back and forth for the rest of the season. So 3 tenths, they're not bad for either of them. Still stuff to work on those shows. When I get to the recap, you'll definitely see what I'm talking about. Blue Knights, 14th in color guard. Moving on to Phantom here, 15th in color guard. They're going to have to work out something there, or they're going to be both falling. Speaking of Phantom, 10th, 84.65. They were 2 tenths above the Mandarins either Thursday or Friday night. Mandarins now 1 tenth away. So that means they might tie in their next meeting. Just joking. Mandarins 11th, Crossmen 12th. I think everybody's pulled away from the Crossmen. They're kind of, they're within a point of the Mandarins. They definitely could catch them. They've made the right changes. I really never felt that show was bad. I just thought that maybe some of these other shows were maybe just so slightly better. And really, the Crossmen have started to show that they're not going to go away. They're going to be at 12th this season, and they're not going to fall. Now, I mean, Academy's kind of gone down, as you'll see on the next slide, but Spirit's right there. So really, it's a win-lose scenario. Crossman's win is that you're 12th and you have a great show, an excellent show. Your lose is that the Spirit right there. Now, that could be home show effect, but I mean, Crossman didn't have that big of a home show effect in San Antonio, so really, who do I think is going to make finals? I think it should be the Crossman. I think Spirit is just, there's really good parts of that show, but the Crossman show is kind of consistently, I don't know if good's the word, but it's consistently intense, and I don't think fun is the right word either, but it makes sense, kind of. So really, that's where everything stands on the bubble. As I'm talking about Spirit and the Academy on the other slide, without their names on the slide, Spirit 83.163, Academy 81.5 here. Academy's definitely fallen off. I don't know what has happened. They were right there with the Crossman. I think maybe some changes, new endings, whatever, has hit them, and they cannot rebound. Anyway, Spirit is 6 cents away from finals. You say that 2 years ago, and someone would tell you you are crazy. Colts 15th, 80.325. Madison 79.3. Definitely the Colts have pulled away from Madison. Troopers 17th at 78.113. They backed down a little from the Madison Scouts to where they were this past week. Pacific Crest there in 18th with a 76.325. They could actually catch Troopers. I thought they might fall below Music City. They might actually jump up a place or two. Then going over to 19th through 24th, Music City right there, good fan-friendly show. Flow Marching does this fan favorite thing every week, and they've won both in San Antonio and Atlanta, so just definitely a fan-friendly show. And as I said before, you can do this in 19th place. You cannot do this in the top 6. Like, you will be 7th. You will not be 6th. So I think Music City has figured it out, and in the years to come, they could be finalist contenders as soon as 2-3 years from now, if they could just break above some of those, because they've got the Oregon Crusaders. Now you got to work on Pacific Crest. They could get them late this season, early next season, and really just kind of got to think of it as a continuous flow, because as long as they can get the talent and the design team that they have every year, another design team leaves to go to a higher core, and none of the kids will leave, either aging out because they've been in Music City and that's kind of been their home through open class and now into world class, or because they're going to go and be in Carolina Crown or the Blue Devils or whatever. That possibility is there, but if they can make sure they keep good talent and keep getting good talent, and they keep a design team and don't let that design team go to other cores, Music City will be a top 15 core in a year or two. So I think that Music City, great place right now. Oregon Crusaders 72.8. They just don't have the strongest show this year. They were better these past few seasons. They've just kind of taken a little bit of a slump this year. No disrespect to any of the members or design team, just not and it's something else that you have to talk about at the top and really anywhere in DCI right now, is that cores are getting better. So if you can't match to the 10th where those other cores are getting better, like Music City over the Oregon Crusaders here, you're going to suffer. And the kids and the design team are going to have great shows, but just with everybody else getting so good, you have to keep up with the rest of them. Genesis 71.125, Seattle Cascades is 68.8. They jumped Jersey Surf. Surf was ahead last week. They go down to 67.275. Pioneer, a good game last night, 63.325. So, good night in Atlanta. So a long time just talking about the scores. What about the recap where it all really matters? So, general effect, not much to talk about with Vanguard. Vanguard, other than that one general effect 2 judge, they go first in everything. Blue Devils 2, 3 and everything. So they go third overall. Bluecoats second. If you look at the points, Vanguard 37.55, Bluecoats 37.225, and Blue Devils 37.2. So very close. You see the Bluecoats are ahead of the the Bluecoats are ahead of the Blue Devils in general effect. And Vanguard's just out front by like 0.3. Then you've got Crown in fourth, solid, 0.5 over Cavaliers, and then you go back 1/10 to Boston. Then going to visual, you've got a not so strong place. I'm not going to say weak, but not so strong place for Santa Clara Vanguard. Visual proficiency, you go first. Visual analysis, second. Color guard, third. This is not that Vanguard's bad. This is that the other corps are just better than them. So you got first visual proficiency, second Bluecoats, third Blue Devils. Then go over to visual analysis. You got Blue Devils, Vanguard, Bluecoats. You have to look at the margins. Over in visual proficiency, Vanguard's up by 0.5. Visual analysis, Blue Devils are up by 1/10 and another 0.5 back to the Bluecoats. And then go over to color guard. Blue Devils 18.65, 18.55 for the Bluecoats, and 18.5 for Vanguard. So all within 1/10.5, sorry. So then to show how much visual is really not going to have an impact on how much I think music might have the bigger impact is that they're so close here that it's just a few tenths or even 0.5 that are separating these scores in visual. And really, big picture, when you think about it, that's not going to. That's 0.2 for Blue Devils to Vanguard is not. It just in visual is not going to win you a championship. So. Just saying that. Overall visual, 28th even for the Blue Devils, 27.925 for Vanguard, 27.9 for the Bluecoats. They're really tight between most of general effect and visual. Now going down to the bottom 3, crowd 4th in visual proficiency. You got Cavaliers 4th in analysis, and then go over to color guard. You've got Boston 4th. The change from last week. They were first in color guard last week, and that's just the recaps are going to fluctuate week in, week out. Part of the reason the Cavaliers are below Boston is because of that color guard score. You have to be perfect in everything is what I'm saying. You have to be perfect at the design team level. You have to be perfect at the performance level, I guess I would say. Boston's 4th in color guard, Cavaliers are 7th. So that's part of the reason that the Boston Crusaders are defeating the Cavaliers right now overall. So then over to the Mighty Music caption, which has a big effect on things this year. So brass first, you got Crown 18.8, 18.75 for Vanguard. 0.5 could separate the caption awards come Indianapolis. I think caption awards kind of get overlooked sometimes, but I think that this year it might be some of the biggest factors in Indy, especially if like Vanguard or even the Blue Devils do run away with this championship. So who knows what it will look like. Music analysis, I'm not really sure which one's the percussion focused and which one's the brass focused. I'll try to get a little clarification on that. But you got the one music analysis, Vanguard, then Crown. I think this left side music analysis would be the brass one because Crown's really high up, but you can't really think about it that way because the percussion scores and the brass scores are kind of equal in some ways. So overall music analysis, they should actually have like a little total here that says music analysis. Actually, just do it the DCA way. Like have 4 captions, and one is music, and you got brass and percussion, and you got one that's music analysis, and that's the 2 judges. I think that would actually be pretty cool. Just more judges and more oddness then. So I don't know if DCR would really do that. Vanguard, though, overall music analysis, I guess you could say a 37.4, I think it is. Blue Devils, you would say a 37.4 as well, I think. So, really, music analysis, is it going to speak volumes? Probably not. Music percussion, then, you got Vanguard, of course, so strong, but only a half a tenth above the Blue Devils. Then third, Crown. Fourth, Boston. Fifth, Bluecoats. Another change for Boston. They went down in color guard, but they kind of made that up in percussion because last week they were 7th below the Cadets. This week they're 4th above both the Bluecoats and the Cavaliers. Next up, over on the recap, 7th through 17th, so the next 10 or 11 cores. Cadets lead it here in 7th in general effect. Blue Stars 8th, about 0.575 behind the Cadets. So the Blue Stars cannot catch them in general effect. So they're probably that is a factor that is holding them back from gaining positions in other captions. Blue Knights, though, this is another reason that they are not able to prevail and go higher to 8th or 7th, is because they're even lower than the Blue Stars. They're in a 34.125. 14th over in general effect 1. That is not the score that they want at all. You see the Cadets, they're pretty consistent, 7th or 8th there. But then you see like Blue Stars 10th, you got Blue Knights 14th and 11th for two of the judges. So really just kind of weird in general effect of how this is working out. Keep going down, you got 10th for the Mandarins, 11th for Phantom by a 10th. So that is a 10th lead for the Mandarins. 12th Crossman. So if you cut the finals line off there, in general effect, you got Crossman 33.6, Spirit 33.375, Academy 32.6. So that is part of the reason why the Academy cannot gain any more positions up, is because they are not in the right place in general effect. They need to probably be in 12th or 13th there, or even just a few more tenths closer to Spirit and Crossman. Then you go down farther, you got Colts 15th, Madison 16th, and Troopers 17th. Then go over to visual, just break down color guard and the overall caption, not proficiency and analysis. You've got the Blue Stars 6th in color guard. As I said before, the Cavaliers are 7th in color guard, 8th for the Cadets in color guard. Then you have to go all the way down to the Academy in 14th for the 9th place color guard. Then back up to the Mandarins in 10th. 11th are the Colts. 12th are the Crossmen. 13th Spirit. 14th Blue Knights. 15th Phantom. 16th Madison. 17th, 18th, and 19th aren't even on this page. And the Troopers are in 20th. So this is confusing. What to take away from this? This is how the Cadets and Blue Stars are getting 7th and 8th, is because they are above everybody else here. One of the reasons that the Mandarins are doing so well is because of their visual score, and that is obvious in their performance. Their visual performance is extraordinary. That Troopers 20th in color guard, that could be holding them back from Madison. I didn't see that one. 14th and 15th for the Blue Knights and Phantom in color guard. That's not good. 16-3 and 16-2. They're only a 10th apart. So really, when you think of it as them going head to head, the Blue Knights actually had the upper hand there. Doesn't hurt their overall score too much, especially the Blue Knights. Phantom, they go all the way down to 12th, but Blue Knights only down to 10th, so you get beat by Mandarins, that's it. So not too bad there, because they make up for it over in proficiency and analysis. Then for this 7th through 17th group, you go over to music. Brass, you've got Blue Knights 7th, Cadets 8th, Blue Stars 9th. As you see just in the brass caption, this is where the Blue Knights do start to pick up ground, and this is how they remain close to the Blue Stars and the Cadets. Go further down in brass, so you got 9th, the Blue Stars, 10th, Phantom, 11th, Spirits, which they've been showing all season long that they're good. They're good in brass. 12th, Mandarins, 13th, Crossmen, 14th, Academy, 15th, Troopers, 16th, Colts, 17th, Madison. Music analysis, I'm just going to skip over that. Then go over to percussion. Cadets 8th, Blue Stars 9th, so actually Blue Knights 7th. After 9th, you go down to Phantom for 10th, 11th, Crossman, 12th, Spirit, 13th, Mandarins, 14th, the Academy, 15th, Colts, 16th, Troopers, 17th, the Madison Scouts. Overall music scores, you've got the Blue Knights in 7th with a 26.425, 8th, the Cadets, a 26.363, 9th, Blue Stars, a 26.025, so they're all within 4/10 of each other. Then 10th, 25.7 for the Phantom. 11th would be Spirit, 25.087 for them. 12th, Crossman, 13th, Mandarins, 14th, Academy, 15th, Colts, 16th, Troopers, and 17th for the Madison Scouts. That is how, well, when you go through all of this recap, that is how you get this overall subtotal for these corps. Going over to general effect now for 18th through 24th. Not going to go over much here because I've spent time talking about the other corps higher up, and these guys, really, there's not that much activity happening here. See the overall totals in general effect, they all go 18th through 24th, so not much to talk about there. Then, over in visual, you've got a tie for 22nd with Seattle Cascades and Jersey Surf, 20.15 each. And then go over to music. Brass, Genesis 20th, Oregon Crusaders 21st. That's the only out of order thing down there. Over in percussion, you got Pacific Crest, Oregon Crusaders, Music City, Seattle Cascades, Genesis, Jersey Surf, Pioneer, and then overall music, it goes 18 through 24, so that's how those scores come to be. Then one DCA show last night, Peckville, Pennsylvania, the Parade of Champions. In A class, the Skyliners, a 67.7, their score. Down in open class then, Buccaneers 86.95 over Cadets 285.6, so 1.35 separate those two, not too much. Definitely still time for Cadets to jump the Reading Buccaneers, but another factor to consider here is Atlanta CV. If you watched the Flow Marching stream all day yesterday, you did see them perform in the Georgia Dome, or Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I guess it's called. They had a really good performance, and they have a really good show. I think that they could definitely, I think that they are a top 3 corps here in DCA Open Class. I think they could definitely give Cadets 2 and Reading Buccaneers a run for their money as well. Caballeros 3rd, 82.825. White Sabres 4th, pretty close to the Caballeros, and 82.2 for them. Bushwhackers in 5th with a 76.8 with a 1.4 penalty, so really it's a 78.4, I think, 2. 6th, Sunrisers 73.1, and then Cincinnati Tradition down in 7th in their DCA Open Class debut, a 72.15. They now go on a long trip to Michigan tonight for a DCI show. Very long trip from Pennsylvania up to Michigan. Let's take a look at the scoring recap for the Parade of Champions last night. So here is the overall scoring recap. Not going to go over anything in A class, only the Skyliners there. You go down to Open Class. Overall, visually, you got Cadets 2 first by a 10th over the Reading Buccaneers. 3rd, Caballeros. I'm actually just going to break down the top 2. individually. Go over to music. Buccaneers first with a 25.95 seconds. Cadets 2 a 25.05. That's 9/10. That's a larger part of why the Buccaneers are still leading Cadets 2. Then go over to effect. A 44.25 for the Buccaneers to go first there. Second, Cadets 2 a 43.7, so about 5.5 tenths. Then overall subtotals, you see them there, and no penalties for those two. Caballeros and White Sabres, other than in music, where the White Sabres do jump the Caballeros, visual and effect do go to the Caballeros. Sunrisers and Cincinnati Tradition could be a battle we're watching for the rest of the season. Again, in music, Cincinnati Tradition does jump the Sunrisers by a few tenths. Let's take a look at the DCI World Class Leaderboard for this morning. So not much to get to here because all 24 cores were at the same show, so nothing is unequal or anything. This is really the last clear look we get at these scores until prelims, because Allentown, yes, they are judged by the same panels, but they're separated in the 2 days. That does have some factor because the judges' last score they watch on Friday night is the Bluecoats, and then the first score they watch on Saturday is, I think it's Jersey Surf. So, I mean, just the performance order thing kind of gets mixed into that they can't, that the scores aren't 100% all of them at the same show. So, top of the charts, Vanguard 0.425 over the Blue Devils. Bluecoats still hanging on, still within a point, 9/10 of Vanguard and the Blue Devils. Go down to the bubble there. You've got Mandarins 1.3 above. Crossman 6/10 over Spirits, who's 6/10 below. You see the cores that do go to Winston-Salem tonight, the only world-class show. Rest of them go to Centerville or Salem or Charleston tomorrow night. So that's what it looks like. If you were to insert open class in here, you got Vanguard Cadets around a 75 right now. They would go about 19th right now as things stand. Speaking of open class, how about the DCI open class leaderboard for this morning? So Vanguard Cadets at the top of 75-2. Big showdown tonight in Oskaloosa. I'll talk about it in just a little bit. So you got Vanguard Cadets, Blue Devils be gold. You got the West Coast dominating open class this year, have all 3 medalist spots currently. How about gold? Really strong year so far for them. Hopefully they can keep that momentum going through the final few weeks of the season. Then you've got some cores that haven't competed in a few days. You got Guardians, Golden Empire, Heatwave, Colt Cadet Shadow, all have not had a show in quite a long time, so they will improve their score by quite a few points. River City Rhythm, though, only going from a 57 to a 60 the other night, probably wanted a few more points than that. Now today, let's take a look at the DCA leaderboards. So, up in DCA open class, Reading Buccaneers lead the way by 1.35 over Cadets 2. Hawthorne Caballeros, 4.125 back, currently hold the bronze medalist spot. Of course, Atlanta CV has not competed in DCA for quite a few weeks, so that score is probably up at near Reading or Cadets 2. Only 10 of the 11 open class scores have competed so far, so we can't really compare anything with finals because Chops Incorporated, I mean, this next week they do go out, so they will have a score. Who knows what that'll be? We'll get to see, though, on Saturday in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Down in A class, same deal. No finalist competition yet. Those bottom 4, Columbus Saints, Governors, Cadence, and Highland Regiment, have not gone out yet. No A class action for those top 4. Next week, you have the Governors making their DCA season debut, though, in Brooklyn Center. Looks like, though, a big week in DCA next week with Kingston and Brooklyn Center around DCA. Now let's take a look at tonight's shows for Sunday, July 29th, 2018. First up tonight, the headliner, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Night Beat. So you got the top 7 here, no Blue Stars, no Blue Knights, then you got 10th place Phantom Regiment here. So 8 of the top 10 at this one. Crown, because it's their home show, they do get to go on last, but the way the draw played out, Vanguard's on at 8:53, Bluecoats 9:10, and Blue Devils 9:27. Look for Crown to be kind of close to the Bluecoats tonight because they have that really good draw. A few notes for Night Beat at BB&T Field. This is at Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Weather for this one, 80 degrees at start time around 7, partly cloudy to around 10, where will be cloudy skies. There is a chance of some thunderstorms around Winston-Salem today, and as long as they hold up, because there is a chance of them a little bit after showtime around midnight, so as long as they hold off, looks like a great show for Night Beat. You can watch this one live on Flow Marching. Second show today, all open class corps show in Oskaloosa, Iowa, Drum Corps Mid-America, all-time Central Time on here. 8 of the 15, so more than half of the open class corps going to championships are at this one. So really one of the closest you get to a open class regional. I still think they should have like an open class regional somewhere in the Midwest, like tomorrow or I guess today. So I think they should have like an open class regional somewhere in the Midwest so that these corps get an accurate read, or even next week before they go to open class championships, in championship week on Monday and Tuesday, of where they are compared to everybody else and where they need to make gains in the on the recaps. So Colt Cadets, River City Rhythm, Guardians, Southwind, then an intermission, Gold, Louisiana Stars, Vanguard Cadets, and Blue Devils B at this one. If Vanguard Cadets can hold off Blue Devils B at this one, as they have been over the past, it's actually been almost a month now, I think that they should be the clear favorites for the open class champions this year. How about Vanguard? Maybe they'll get a clean sweep this year. Got Louisiana Stars, Gold, Southwind, Guardians. They're probably all in a neighborhood together. River City Rhythm probably by themselves there in 7th. If what they did the other night does happen again tonight, with the score being only like a 60 to a 63. Though we did see that with the Raiders, and their score plummeted up after a few days as well. Colt Cadets, 54 currently. They haven't done a show, I don't think, since St. Louis. So they'll probably be up at a 58, probably 4 points behind River City Rhythm would be a good guess to where they will be. A few notes for this one. At the Oskaloosa Community Stadium at the Lacey Complex, Oskaloosa, Iowa. Weather here, mid-70s to 70 even. Looks like a good night for some drum corps in Iowa. Then, final show tonight, White Lake, Michigan, the Legends Drum Corps Invitational. All times Eastern Time here, 7 o'clock. Welcome National Anthem, 7:20. All age class Cincinnati tradition. As I said, they went all the way from Peckville, Pennsylvania, which is around the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area of Pennsylvania, up to White Lake, Michigan overnight, or maybe they're still traveling, I'm not sure, which is around Detroit. So that's a pretty long ride for them to get to this one to perform an exhibition. Kind of just odd there. 7:36 Raiders, 7:52 7th Regiment, 8:08 intermission, 8:28 Spartans, 8:44 Legends, 9:10 somewhere around there. Scores will be announced. So same 4 corps that have been going through New York and then Pennsylvania and then up to Michigan. So we get Spartans and Legends again, so who knows how that will play out. Hopefully it's very close, so lots to talk about tomorrow. A few notes for this one at the Lakeland High School Stadium in White Lake, Michigan. Weather forecast here. 76 around showtime and mostly cloudy skies to 72 and partly cloudy with sunset around 9 o'clock, and the end time for this one. The Legends Drum Corps Invitational looks good. A few showers could be expected throughout the day here, but otherwise looks like a great night for some drum corps around Michigan, Iowa, and North Carolina. Now, just a few things before I finish here today. Make sure to check out drumcorpscentral.weebly.com for all your latest updates from the DCIA and DCA summer tours, scores, schedules, leaderboards, and more. Can all be found on my own personal website about all things drum corps, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DrumCorpsGeek and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Drum Corps Central. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Drum Corps Central, a podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. Have a great rest of your day. Good luck to all performing corps and members tonight in Winston-Salem, Oskaloosa, and White Lake.